Welcome again to Ancient Tales for today. I hold in my hand a very old book. It's a modern publication of a very old book, a book that the writing came from more than 3,000 years ago. And we've been looking at a series of stories. In fact, there are many, many stories in this old book. We've been looking at a group of people, and they are coming out of Egypt. They crossed over an ocean on dry ground, and now, this is lesson 50, bread from heaven. Bread from heaven. Stay by for an interesting lesson.
Number 50, bread from heaven. On their way to the promised land, you would think that the people would have been happy. But just 1 month after leaving Egypt, they are already complaining. If only we were back in Egypt, they moan. It would have been better to have been killed back there. At least we had meat stew and bread to eat. But you, Moses, have brought us out into the desert to starve to death. What ungrateful people! How would you have replied if you were Moses? Moses and Aaron tell the people that God, the God of heaven, will prove to them that he brought them out of Egypt. He will send meat in the evening and bread in the morning for them. It sounds impossible to the people. They are in the middle of the desert and there are no supermarkets nearby. But that very evening, a huge number of quail flew in and landed in the camp. All the people had to do was pick them up. Then in the morning, the place was covered in dew. When the dew was gone, it left behind something that looked like flakes. The people didn't know what it was, so they called it manna, which means, "What is it?" They picked up the manna, and it was used like bread. It was white and tasted like wafers of honey, the promised bread of heaven. They picked it up every day because it only lasted 1 day, except for the 6th day of the week. They picked up double, and it lasted through the 7th day as well, so they would not have to work on that special 7th day. No manna came on the 7th day. Here's proof that if bread can come down from heaven, then you can be looked after in the same way. Heaven does not give up on you and can provide what you need.
Okay, they are on their way to the promised land. So, great good news, because in the last time you saw how they got across miraculously. 真的是神迹啊. They crossed over a sea. It was a barrier and they couldn't cross, but God blew on the water and they crossed over on dry land. They were on their way to the promised land. You would think that the people would have been very happy. But 真的是想这些人应该非常非常快乐. But just 1 month after leaving Egypt, 1 month, 1个月, they've left Egypt for 1 month, okay? They are already complaining. 还是抱怨. They are already complaining. If we were just back in Egypt, they moan. 这个 moan is kind of like crying and suku or kusu. You know, they're crying, they're unhappy, they are not. If we were just back in Egypt, they moan. It would have been better to have been killed back there. 我们被埃及人杀在埃及比较好啊。Can you imagine how 痛苦, how painful the situation is at this point? I am tempted right at this point to draw a lesson, but maybe I better not. Let's go on now. Going on. At least we had meat stew. Okay, 肉汤. Okay, 肉汤. Usually this type of 肉汤 is 比较浓. When we say in America, when we say meat stew, we think about 浓汤, okay? At least 至少我们有肉汤, meat stew, and we had bread to eat. 有面包, 有粮食. But you, Moses, have brought us out into the desert to starve. I would have added us to death. To starve to death. 但摩西你这个人啊, you brought us out here, 带我们到这个地方啊，在旷野沙漠 desert, wilderness is 旷野, desert is 沙漠, to 为了要我们饿死, to starve to death. Are they happy people? No way. They're not happy at all. Moses and Aaron, 他的哥哥, 摩西跟亚伦, these are two brothers, okay? Moses and Aaron tell the people that the God of heaven will prove to them. 这个天上的神 will prove to them. 天上的上帝会 prove to them that he brought them out of Egypt. 会证明是他把他们带出来. You see, they thought that Moses had brought them out of Egypt. And Moses and Aaron say, no, it's God that brought you guys out of Egypt, and God will prove that he is the one who brought you out of Egypt. Yeah, 就是他把你们从埃及带出来. Okay, so now this is what Moses said. Going on. He will send meat in the evening. 所以现在是一个挑战, okay? God is going to do something. God will send meat in the evening. Okay? 晚上的时候他会送肉给你们. And in the morning, bread in the morning for them. Whoa, not bad. See, what is happening? The people don't trust God. Obviously, they don't trust Moses and Aaron. So God is going to prove himself. 证明是他. God will send meat in the evening. And bread, 面包, in the morning. Whoa. This sounds impossible. Yeah, I'm sure it does. Remember, we're talking about 1,000,000 people. 1,000,000 people? 100,000个人啊. And 1,000,000 people to get meat at night and bread in the morning? Whoa! They are in the middle of a desert. 刚好在沙漠中间. And there are no supermarkets nearby. 没有在这个附近 nearby 附近没有超级市场 supermarket. Nowadays, hey, even if 就算是有 supermarkets, how many supermarkets would it take to feed 1,000,000 people? Whoa, there are no supermarkets nearby, not even one, because they are in the middle of a desert. But that very evening, 就是那个晚上, a huge number, 一大堆, okay, of quail, 鹌鹑. 鹌鹑 is a bird. So this is a bird. Many, thousands, millions of 鹌鹑 flew in, 就飞到那个地方 and landed in the camp, 落在这个营地. Wow, 不简单. Now, we need to go on and take a look at light on your path.
Okay, now for some light on our path, Lena. We're going to look at a song, actually. It's a praise song. It's found in Psalms 103, verse 2.
今天我们要看的诗篇呢，是103篇的第2节。
Very, very short, so let's look at this. It simply says, Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits.
经文说：“我的心哪，你要称颂耶和华，不可忘记他的一切恩惠。”
Okay, now I have a question for you.
真的？
I didn't tell Lena, so she
对。
doesn't know. But it should not be too hard. How do you remember all the good things that God has done for you?
哦，我相信我要感谢上帝的，就是给我一个很宝贝的女儿。
Okay, but how do you keep from forgetting? 免得你忘记你做什么？
我每次一看到女儿的时候，就想到这个孩子是上帝给我的，我要感谢他。
Oh yeah, of course I knew you before you were married.
嗯，
How old is your daughter now?
15岁。
Whoa. I remember we worked together many years ago. Yeah, so
可
this
是
will
不到1个世纪。
no, not a century yet.
对。
Okay.
艾老师，其实这种感谢、感恩是很重要的，它会影响我们的生活，对不对？
Right. And actually, here is the interesting thing. God performed many miracles, 很多神迹啊。But the people of Israel forgot and forgot
对。
and forgot and forgot. So the Bible says, don't forget all the good things that God has done for us.
Okay, now we've seen that God is going to prove that He is the God that brought the people out of Egypt. 怎么会证明他是神把他们带出来呢？ He gave them bread. No, He He gave them meat in the evening and bread in the morning. And so these birds came in. Anchun, they came in, they flew in, they had meat to eat. All the people had to do was to pick them up. They just grabbed them and pick them up, 拿起来. Then in the morning, 第二天早上, the place was covered with dew. Now remember, we're out in a desert. Okay? Now, I don't know whether this is common in deserts, but 第二天早上满地都有露水. Dew, 露水. Okay? And when the dew was gone, of course, the sun comes up, the dew dries, 这个露水就干掉. It left behind. What does it mean it left behind? 它就留下来 what? Something that looked like flakes. Okay? Something that looked like flakes. 留下来是一个东西，不晓得是什么东西，看起来好像雪片。Okay, 雪片. A flake is something that's very small, 薄薄的, okay? So when the dew was gone, it left behind something that looked like flakes. The people did not know what it was. Of course, they had never ever seen something like this. The people didn't know what it was. So they called it manna. Manna. And you know what manna means? Which means, what is it? So every time, every morning after that, when they went out to pick up the manna, they asked, I'm going out to pick up, what is it? Because manna means, what is it? Going on. They picked up the manna and it was used like bread. So they picked these flakes up and 用起来好像面包一样. It was white, okay, and it tasted like wafers of honey. Now, what is a wafer? A wafer is like flake, 雪片, but a wafer is a bigger, 还是薄片, wafers of honey. So it tasted like honey. It was white, and you could make bread out of it. Actually, they made their bread. 他们是用这个作为他们的面包. And this was the promise. 他们所应许的 bread from heaven. It would be many, many, many more years, more than 1,000 years, before they would understand what bread from heaven, 从天上来的粮食. Now, remember, bread usually means 面包. But in this case, I think that the Gu Jing, the ancient tales, sometimes translates it as 粮食. Anyway, they picked it up every day. 每天就捡起来, to pick it up, because it only lasted one day. Now this is very important, because it lasted only one day. 能够保持只不过是一天, it lasted only one day. To last 能够保持, okay, one day. Except except on the 6th day of the week, 每星期, well, now we have a problem because now they would say 每星期五周六星期 every 6th day of the week. They picked up double. See, it only lasted one day, but on Friday, they picked up double. 他们就捡起来就去 how much? Double. And it lasted through the 7th day. Okay? It lasted through Saturday. Now, we're going to come back. This may be a little bit complicated because later on calendars, 我们的日历有一些改变. But let's just look at it this way. Except on the 6th day of the week, 就是说星期六 okay, 星期六 okay, which would be the 6th day of the week, 周六, but it's our Friday now. They picked up double, picked up 2 times. 他们说捡起来的是双倍 okay, and it lasted through the 7th day. 那第7日 which would be 我们星期六. So they would not have to work on the special 7th day of the week. 他们星期我们说安息天星期六 is the 7th day. They did not have to work. Going on. No manna came on the 7th day. No manna came on the 7th day. So one day a week there was no manna. What day was that? It was the 7th day, or what we now call 星期六. Sounds confusing, doesn't it? Well, it'll become clearer in the days to come. Here is proof that if bread can come down from heaven, then you can be looked after in the same way. 这个是证明，这如果从天上就会有粮食下来，那么在天庭还是会照顾你。Heaven does not give up on you. 它不会放弃你 and can provide for whatever you need. Now, stay by for words that you need to know.
And now, for some words we need to know. First one is moan.
哭诉这个字我第一次见到，很多小孩子喜欢哭诉，是不是？
Yeah, them
Complain.
complaining, but moaning. I don't know how to moan, but it's kind of a cry, but it's not a real cry. It's moaning. Okay,
哭诉。
kusu. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Ungrateful.
忘恩负义，
Okay, 忘恩负义.
或者是
Ungrateful.
不知感恩。
Yeah, now see, the people of Israel were not grateful, therefore they were ungrateful.
对，
Going on, the next one, a very simple one. We have many super things in this world. How about supermarkets?
超级市场、超市。
Ah, yes. Supermarkets. I like supermarkets. But when I was young, there were no supermarkets.
哦，只有一些很小的店子，对吧？
Yeah. But now, big supermarkets.
我很喜欢知道，到底开始的时候为什么称它做 supermarket， 是因为里边很多种类的东西吗？
Yes. and it's big, big,
Oh.
big, 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 big. So the next one is flakes, flake.
叫做薄片，或者是我们说它是雪花、雪片。
Yes, it depends on where it's used. 看这个香蕉文是薄片还是雪片。But often I see it's 雪片 of flakes. Okay, well, the last one, just a very short one. Honey. What's honey?
蜂蜜，
Fengmi, honey, sweet as honey. And with that, we have no more time for words you need to know.
Okay, now we've come to the end of lesson number 50. These ancient tales, something very special happened. God performed 2 miracles. 2个神迹. At nighttime, he gave them meat, and in the morning, he gave them, what is it? Manna. It was bread from heaven. Actually, they made bread out of that. Okay, and then one day a week, our 星期五, nowadays, 星期五, that day they got double, and then the next day they got none. Great miracles. And now we come to the next one, and you'll want to join us then because we talk about bread from heaven. That was today. We talk about water from a rock. Bread, now water. Stay by for the next lesson. Please come join us.
That's all for today, and thanks for watching. If you like Ancient Tales for Today, please visit atft.chinesehope.tv. You may also contact us by writing to ancienttalesfortoday@gmail.com. Again, that's ancienttalesfortoday@gmail.com. Tell your friends about Ancient Tales for Today. See you next time.